Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is PC back, and today we're doing the Gamer Passion again. Today's topic is going to be open mic night. We're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about. There's really no subject. I got the two greatest YouTubers in the world joining me again. Jared, Super High Tech, Neo Geo Man, Sal. Open it up.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great day.
Yeah, it's Sunday. We about to get started. Running kind of late today, but we're gonna get it done. One topic that we do want to talk about today is gaming in the past and gaming today. And this all came about from a situation I had with my son recently. He's a big, he was born in 2002. So really his first console is, Xbox, the original Xbox and Xbox 360. And with him, he's not really understanding what it is to game. I'll buy him like a Call of Duty, what he wants. And, he'll play it for a little while with his friends. And he has like his 13-year-old friends with him. And, I hear him online cursing, and it's just fucking crazy to me. So I just want to get, what do you guys think? What's changed as far as the attitude of gaming from when you guys were kids and, from like today, like how it is today? Because I guess today, I mean, we do have stuff like Evo. We have these bigger tournaments, so gaming has really come a long way as far as the marketing and how big it's gotten. Do you think it's bad or do you think it's good? You guys let me know. We'll have Sal. Let's start us off.
Well, as far as gaming in the past and what's in the present and what maybe in the foreseeable future, a lot has changed, and it's changed probably for the worst, I would say. Like, if you look at it right now, there's a big, huge retro boom that's been happening within the past I'd say maybe 4 or 5 years, I'm guessing. And the reason why the retro boom happened is because a lot of the current gen systems and all, and the whole Call of Duty clones and the various action cinematic type games that are out there now, a lot of people are getting bored with that shit. They're tired of playing the same shit over again, or playing war simulators where the companies are slapping mature ratings on it, and it's just getting the same experience over and over again. And a lot of times people go back to the stuff that they were playing in, the late 80s to, into the 90s, and are enjoying it more and seeing the creativity and the passion that was put into these games. And that's why I believe this whole retro boom happened, because gaming is just not the same. There's no passion behind it. It seems like it's cold. It's just geared toward certain special titles, the A-plus companies, and the fact of the matter is that the companies have the attitudes. Don't get me wrong, a corporation is there to make money, of course, but their attitude is fuck the gamers, let's have DLC, which I think destroyed a lot of gaming in general, because it used to be when you wanted to unlock something or get something, you had to go through the game, just like you did back in the day. Now they're spending, $60-something for a game, and by the time you get all the DLC, you might be spending close to $100, when that should be just content that's on the disc. And I think that's what's really happening is that the gaming, for me, in my personal opinion, is kind of like just died in a sense with the PlayStation 2. Now, because the PlayStation 2, I believe, was the last, dedicated console. While PS3 and Xbox 360 are nice and all, but I think the current gen systems have just become cash cow systems. And it's not the same it was as in the 90s, where you had a lot of innovation, a lot of passion, and companies took risks. Nowadays, companies don't want to take a risk, because taking a risk would mean losing profits and possibly even shutting down. Back in the day, you didn't have that. I mean, like, you can take a place like, a company like Konami or Sunsoft, like that. Like, don't get me wrong, the majority of their titles are good, but they might have a shit title here and there. But they were not afraid to take risks, and that's what made probably some of the best games around because of the creativity that came out of the gaming, especially from the Nintendo on, which to me started the whole revolution of games, because I never really fucked with Atari like that, but Nintendo's where it started, and then it just kept on progressing, and while the progression is excellent, I think we've reached a plateau at this stage of the game because technology has moved way too fast for its own good. And it's just, I think we've come to a point with the current gen and the next gen that there's not much going to be separating it because we've reached a plateau. True, the next gen will be, have, maybe more tessellation, more shading, more polygons, but in reality, I think we just hit something where we really can't go any further as far as trying to make anything that's so superior, so out of this world, because we were moving way too fast. And I think we should have slowed it down a bit and, enjoyed what we had at the time. And I think gaming could last longer, because the way it seems that the gaming thing changes, there could eventually be a crash, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Jared, how do you feel about it, man?
Wow, there's a lot to really touch upon what Sal was saying as far as how we used to game back in the day and today. I don't know what it is. I remember I was reading an article, maybe like Retro Gamer or something like that, where it's just one of the editors that touched about this subject. He's just like, you know what? This is something you just have to talk about. Why is it, the gamers of our generation are going back and playing the old Capcom games, playing the old 8-bit Nintendo games, the 8-bit Sega Master System games, going back and collecting arcade PCBs? It's because there's something there that those creators of those games were making. And I remember there was an article or an interview with a Japanese game designer, I don't know who it was, might have been Yu Suzuki or somebody like that, and he said, the game that they create is where the game designer and the game creator and the game player meet to play each other, play together. And it's kind of like that dynamic, that dichotomy of, the game developer creating this enjoyable experience for you, creating this kind of challenge for you, and I don't know, it's just like with the Legend of Zelda, the creator of that game, he was a little kid, he's exploring these woods and this back area at his home, and he touched, it touches upon something in your childhood, and he's exploring these areas, and it's just, I don't know, it's something that they touch upon that's really universal, and you feel that in the older games. And with the newer games, I don't know, because there's so many, the technology is so robust, the graphics, the textures, everything's there, and that replaces your imagination in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it's different. It comes across different, and I guess because they're designing the games, because they know the older guys like us, I guess they're kind of targeting the older guys in these games. That's why they're so mature. They're so present day, and it's like for us as adults now, I guess we don't really want to be in those places. I don't want to play Call of Duty. I just don't want to be there. That's not the way I guess the way I want to escape. So that's why I'm into the retro games mostly. I want that feeling of the past. Of it could be nostalgia, yeah. It could be nostalgia, but it's also there was something there, and it's real. I mean, I can tell you, the feelings I have playing my old 16-bit, 8-bit games it's great. It makes me feel good, But if I just can't say the same for the new games. I don't know what that is, Call it nostalgia or whatever, but it's true, So that's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Well, the way I see it is just like Jared said, is they're focusing on too much being real. Why should a game focus on being too real? In other words, if I want something to be real, I'll go actually do it in the real world. The purpose for me of seeing a lot of these games was seeing, animation or cartoon, being in the palm of your hand. cartoons. Let's say you'd watch, let's say back in the day, whether it's Looney Tunes, Animaniacs, whoever it may be, but being able to take a cartoon that you'd actually physically watch on TV and put it into an actual game where a controller hits your hands and you're controlling that character, that fantasy, to me is amazing. It seems to be more, you're in touch with the game, just your whole entire being seems to be more involved with it. Whereas nowadays, the whole realism thing, while true, we've come a long way as far as the graphics are, but to me, it seems like these especially war simulators and stuff like that, there's no imagination in it. It's just killing. It's not really innovative. It's not doing anything to really change the landscape. I mean, if you want to go in war, there's one going on in Afghanistan, and I'll keep my viewpoints out of that as far as that's concerned. But the point is that as far as certain things, if I want to play something real, let it be real. The purpose of gaming is to have imagination with it, to have creativity. I'm not saying everything has to be necessarily 2D, but the thing is that to create things that are of the imagination and not trying to make everything be so real, because you start to lose something in the game if it's just too real. It just feels especially nowadays with games, especially a lot of the action games, it seems that they're trying to be, instead of games, it seems they're trying to be blockbuster movies or trying to be very cinematic. And I'm not looking for that. If I want to watch the cinema, I'll sit down and actually watch something on DVD or a movie theater. My whole personal experience is I want to play something where, I'm in charge of it, not the game. I don't want the, do this particular button at this, what do you call it, the real time, I think they're called, or
quick
whatever
time.
motions. I think quick time, that's it, quick time. I don't like that stuff. My thing is go back to the old school stuff. And a lot of the, they try to incorporate that stuff, especially some of the fighting games, let's say Injustice, Gods Among Us. I like the game because it keeps it kind of sort of like that old school Mortal Kombat. And that's kind of like the reason why I bought it, because the old heads at Midway, made that game and all. But the quick time events are kind of goofy, and I really don't like that, because that's just, to me, shouldn't even be part of the game. But I think gaming's just lost a lot, and I think nothing is really going to change just going into the next generation, because the only thing will change is, of course, a bit more touched up graphics. But as far as that, maybe a bit more open up worlds. But as far as that, you can never compete with the imagination and the innovativeness that was there in the 8 and the 16-bit, even into the 32-bit, 64, etc., all the way up. I don't think it's there anymore, because it's too costly to be innovative. It's too much of a risk. Unless they're an indie developer who they have a tiny budget, they can take more risk. But a larger company like a Capcom or something like that can't do that. They have to stick to a formula which is going to garner them profits. So if they can't guarantee your profit, they're not going to do it.
Okay. Hey, one thing I want to ask, maybe both of you guys, but when do you think that exactly where there was like a transition, this turning point? We're talking about retro versus modern gaming. Maybe to each of you guys, like Jose, when do you think that turning point was where you just started to, hey, I want to go back if I want to play this game? Where was that turning point for you?
DLC. The moment the moment that the consoles got hard drives, I knew we were fucked. I knew we were done. Just because the fact that the developer, and they haven't shown me anything but this way, and is that they can put out a game, a half-finished game, and day one you can have either DLC or patches. So basically you're selling me a full-price game that's not done. That's when I think I lost some passion for gaming. That's why I went so back hard into my retro games, and started really collecting, because it's like I started clamoring, because I knew with digital games, to me, like the emulators, they don't have any value to me. They're just not the same to me. Playing a game on a computer compared to a original system. It might sound kind of stupid, but For me, grabbing that cartridge or that CD and putting it in there and opening that lid, or blowing out the cartridges, that's gaming to me. That's how I grew up, and that's what it means to me. But I think we lost it after the PS2 Dreamcast era. I think that was it. You know what? I think the real last really dedicated system was the Dreamcast. I think after that, everything went downhill.
I agree with that wholeheartedly right there. The Dreamcast was the last kind of line back to the arcades, because that was like an arcade machine. I mean, that was right there. I got to agree with that one. That's a great point.
Mm. I agree with that, because it was dedicated on the architecture of like the Naomi Dreamcast. And the reason why I say the PS2 was kind of last, because, okay, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to lie, like, the PS2 was a huge seller for me, not only because of the games, but of course the DVD thing, because back when it first initially launched, DVD players themselves were pretty expensive, and so it's just like, wow, look at this, you're getting not only, these games, but you're getting that thing. So it was like a plus. It was like one of those, wow, it's a plus type of thing. But I agree with as far as that, as far as what Jose was saying with the DLC and the patching and seeing what the companies were about, and their whole entire thing was just, fuck you, pay me.
Exactly.
And that was just their attitudes, because whereas the PS2, you wanted certain games, so they gave you like for $20. You could buy arcade compilations. You could buy, games where, let's say for a PS2, I'm just going to just put it, say, they were like max, I think, $50 or something, but most fell in the $30 to $40 range. They were reasonably priced, and you got a lot of content for your money. But as soon as these DLC things came out, and that they stopped having unlockable things as far as true unlockable. If you wanted the characters, you could download them. That's extra money. Why? That should be on the disc. The only thing I can see is maybe DLC would be maybe add something super really revolutionary. But I agree. I think, and what Jose was saying, his DLC destroyed everything, and it just became 100% cash cow, and fuck you, paying me.
Yeah.
When you guys are talking about DLC, one DLC moment I had was I purchased Forza, the driving game, because I'm kind of like a car guy. So I played Gran Turismo all the way up to today, and so I bought the game. And I was like, this game's pretty cheap, and it looks like it's pretty fun. And then I'm going to go through the car list, and it's like, oh my god, dude, like 80% of the cars were DLC. It wasn't like Gran Turismo like back in the day. It's like, okay, all right, dude, if you want this car, you gotta earn it. You gotta race this race, or you gotta accomplish this goal. It was like, you gotta pull out your credit card. I was like,
just to finish a race. To finish a race.
Wow.
That's insane. That's crazy. And now people were up in arms about the whole Xbox One thing. How do you think we got to that point? Was allowing these companies to get away with it? And I'm going to tell you the two, in my personal opinion, the two biggest fuck you companies, and I hate to say it, is Capcom. And I can tell you right now, I fucking hate EA. I haven't bought an EA game since about 2003. Yeah, just because I don't support nothing there about. That's just my opinion. Capcom it's sad because they were one of my favorite developers growing up. And
you know what?
Shit is crazy
about
now.
Capcom. One thing I gotta say, Jose, the thing about Capcom is that they've learned to adapt. They've learned to be a business, and I mean, I know this kind of sucks, but I've grown up with Capcom for a long time, and they've really learned how to be not just a game company but they've learned to be a business, and I think that's where the resentment of where your resentment comes from, But they're making money. They're making money. They're in the game. They're still in the game. SNK, unfortunately, they're not, because they didn't really learn how to be a business, and that's the sad part. I mean, I've gotten, like, right now I bought Dragon's Dogma for the Xbox 360, and that's like a new game, and it's a good game, but it's like that same thing, DLC and all that. So they've learned how to be a business, and they're still in the game. They're still surviving. They're one of the few Japanese companies that are still major, that's still valid. But yeah, I understand your frustration. It's kind of that same thing because they do they do those practices that are so that you don't like that we don't like. So.
Here's the way I look at Capcom or Crapcom as they're known today. The thing is that I agree with you, Jared. That I agree it's a business, has to make money. But let's take Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Oh yeah.
You have a game which a lot of people anticipated. I'm not even going towards gameplay, whether it plays more like in Street Fighter or Tekken. That's neither here nor there. But here you have a game where the DLC is literally on the content of the disc. It's on the disc. In order to get the extra characters, you have to download it and everything like that to get these extra characters. And that was one beef that a lot of people had. They were actually reported to the Better Business Bureau for their practices, actually. And they were reported for it because for cheating the customers. Two, they were trying, you know how many Mega Mans that they were trying to say they were going to launch? And the fact of the matter is they kept on dodging it. And that's one of their biggest IPs. In a sense, it's technically bigger than Street Fighter because Mega Man, is kind of cross all boards of almost like anybody. Whereas fighting games usually kind of goes toward a particular group of people. But Mega Man, I think, crosses all boundaries and things of that nature. And they just keep dodging it. They just keep dodging it. They're only trying, and look at the Resident Evil. The Resident Evils, now don't get me wrong, I don't mind people trying to take a new spin on it, but the last Resident Evil, the quality and everything's dropped. They stopped, like Resident Evil 6 because they're trying to cash in on what's in at the time. And there's nothing wrong, like I said, they have to make money because if you're not making money, you're not in business. But I think what they're doing is everything is either they're playing they're kind of like playing it safe or sitting on the fence with a lot of things and all. And that's not what Capcom used to be compared to the old days. And Capcom's been around for quite some time. They've been around, 30 plus years minimum. So that's the only thing I really say. EA, I ain't going to really say anything about it. I mean, I just disliked them for years and all. But Capcom is really, in my personal opinion, is going downhill because they were a fierce competitor. They were doing a lot of things, a lot of IPs. They just dodged them because all they're trying to do is play everything safe. And that's not what Capcom used to do. They made just like SNK, they used to make a lot of innovative things and all, but that's just my personal sense. But I agree with you. Money's money. They got to do, but they lost a lot of respect, a lot of money with the Cross series. That people just really threw hatred at them, and they're just cost too because you're paying. These games are expensive now. To me, they want to keep on raising these prices. Like I said, $30, $40, even $50 when you got a lot of content. Now Capcom is basically jipping people, and they're trying to get money, and that's where people are starting to get disgusted, and that's where this DLC thing, like I said, which people are disgusted. That's why I said the PS2 was the last one where you were actually getting a full game. If they did good on the game, they did good. If they fucked up on the game, they fucked up. There's no two ways. There's no patches. There's no this. There's no content, and you didn't have all that problem. It's just playing. They're just trying to play it safe.
I think it's funny that we wax nostalgic about the PS2 because, to me, the PS2 was the big monolith. It was the big, the Bowser in the room, and it just used to dominate everything. And I used to resent it because it, killed my beloved Dreamcast off. Yeah. But now we're thinking nostalgic about how many great RPGs there were on the system, how many great fighting games there were, how many great collections. Wow, I mean, now it's indispensable. It's indispensable to me. I have to have a PS2 hooked up because all the great collections, all the great, SNK collections, the Capcom collections, the Taito collections, and it's great. And some of the games that I think Jose had mentioned to me, like Shadow of the Colossus, all these other great games that are really particular or specific to the PS2. That's pretty funny.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, Jose.
No, it's okay. But you know what, guys? We think so great about the PS2 and the Dreamcast and all these retro systems, but one thing they had in common was most of them had great Japanese influence on these systems. Where is that today? I was talking to Sal. I was I was looking at my PS3 collection. I only have 2 games over there. just because I thought that when I was gonna get this PlayStation 3, I was gonna get all these RPGs, I was gonna get all these action games, and I really haven't got anything. Like I was so disappointed with this gen. Looking back on it now, since it's about to be over, I mean this was the worst because really no Japanese developers put like their stamp on it. Final Fantasy 13. I'm sorry guys, if you're listening, it was a fucking flop. It was it was gross, and now they're trying to do 1, 2, and 3 of that. It's the worst. And
Yeah.
and that's coming from a long time RPG fan like myself. I don't know what you guys think about it, but we didn't get that Japanese influence, and that's what a lot of people growing up really loved about video gaming.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's a major point. And one thing I could just to add to what you're saying is like one thing that I think was one of the worst moments in video games as far as the Japanese are concerned and as far as everyone's concerned was the worst possible thing ever was Sega removing themselves from the arena of video games, from the arc, from the home system arena.
Yeah.
For them to bow out, basically that left a big, huge vacuum. And basically, the Japanese game industry, in my opinion, really screwed themselves over by taking Sega out of the equation. So now you just have Sony and you have Nintendo, and now the other companies now are starting to push in and kind of push those guys out. Even mighty Nintendo, which was unstoppable force. If you think about the NES and Super NES back in the day, now it's like I'm reading Microsoft MSN news articles while I'm at work talking about how Nintendo is struggling, talking about how the Wii U is not doing as great as they thought and all this stuff. And back in the day, Nintendo was just a force. No one could mess with them. They were just a big monolith. And now all these new companies are coming out with all these crap games that me personally, I really don't like. I don't really care for Angry Birds. I really don't care for all this stuff they're trying to bring in and force down your throat. I don't care about all those first-person shooters and all that stuff. So now they're kind of on the ropes, and the Japanese gaming industry is just kind of reeling. And they'll still bring out stuff in their own home market, but as far as here, it's just not the same, and that's really what's causing a lot of problems. But I think once Sega had kind of got pushed out, the whole arcade thing, the whole thing with their innovation. Think about how innovative they were, and with their Dreamcast system, everyone else just came along and just took all their great ideas, made them their own, and they ran with it, made a lot of money. And Sega's just kind of like a bit player out in the corner, sitting out, looking like a 2-bit company. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Speaking of that, let me ask you guys a personal opinion. If you were in charge of, I guess, gaming as a whole, what would you guys do to get gaming back on track to where you think it was good? And we'll start off with Jared.
What would I do?
What
I would do if I was if I had made that decision, I would let the game creators run wild with whatever they wanted to come out with. I wouldn't try to, have this kind of like this bureaucratic process. Okay, this game's not going to sell. This game's not going to do well. Because how do you know? Basically, once you become kind of like a grown adult, you really don't know. You just think you know, and that's what a lot of people's problems are. A lot of these guys in these corporate boardrooms, they think they know what people want, and they try to project that into the market, and they're not really. And they miss it. They always miss the mark. It's like they'll release their crappy game, their crappy idea that they think is good, and then the guy who's the artist, the creator, the game player who's working down in the mailroom, his idea doesn't get pitched. His idea doesn't come to fruition. So what I would do, I would have a open space for my game company, for my creators to be as creative as possible and to have as much fun, and then create that in their product, in that video game. I think, though, that's where the best games come from. That's what I would do if I had a game company. I wouldn't try to create this bureaucratic process of, well, okay, we got to make a game that looks like, this game over here that sold 1 million copies. I would let my company create what they want, and then I would heavily market it if I believed in it. If I believed in the product, I would heavily market it, and I think that the people would respond to it. maybe a little naive, but that's the way I would do things.
Okay. All right, Sal.
I agree with a lot of what Jared's saying. I would cut through the red tape and the boardroom bullshit, because the boardroom bullshit is what destroys a lot of things. Because you have a bunch of fucking, geriatric fucking old timers making decisions on games and things that they don't have a clue or do not even play themselves. So that's numero uno wrong right there. Second, I would do is exactly what Jared said, is give creative design and give them basically what do you call it, like a free pass to kind of come up with a lot of various ideas without too much time constraints and too much and stay within a budget. I'm not saying that you go bankrupt, but to give some sort of freedom, knowing that they can be able to take their time with it, they're not going to be rushed, and that they have the money and backing for there. Also, I think what would be a great thing to do is that just not focus on just being the company itself. I would organize working with other companies and working with their ideas and putting together ideas from them and incorporating them. Let's say kind of like crossovers and help with different games. Because, and of course they should credit, of course, and profit should be split where they should be split. The thing is that I would have, game developers working with other game developers and coming up with these ideas and these companies working together. I mean, you can still be competitive, but it's nice to actually know that, a company's working with another company and they're coming up with these different ideas and working together and trying to create a harmonious, game industry or environment. And I think that would do it, and especially having, especially here in America, the one thing is that, because we've lost that Japanese experience, that thrill, is that, more American companies should be looking to them and their creative designs, because in all reality, gaming is really nothing without a huge Japanese influence, because a lot of the American systems, other than really Xbox and maybe the Atari, to some extent, the only ones that were semi-successful. Most of the other machines were Japanese produced.
Yeah.
The majority were. And to have that influence right there, and to always, especially as an American company, to refer or have to be advised by them and what to do, and not try to be uppity and say, okay, we can do this, we can do that, because a lot of their creativity, a lot of their designs, a lot of things is what put a lot of these systems on the map at all. But there needs to be some harmony working with various companies and trying to keep them alive. No, there's nothing wrong with competition. I believe 100% in it. But there should be, companies should be really coming together more and more to support each other for a common goal, and that's to produce excellent games.
Yeah, because you know what, guys, I hear people, I've been watching videos and stuff like that, and they'll say like one company, might be like Nintendo should bow out and go third party, or Sony should go third party. That's the last thing that the Wii's gamers should want, because really our best era of video games, which is which I consider to be like 16-bit, we had so much competition. That's why so many people remember that era, because we got so much competition. So, Nintendo and Sega were trying to knock each other off to gain that market share. That's how we got so many good games. That's how so many people fell in love with gaming. And it's like today, it's pretty messed up how the media really influences people perception on gaming nowadays. Like I was reading an article where they basically see only Microsoft and Sony as like the two main next gen systems, and like Nintendo's just doing their own thing over here. Like they don't even consider them in the same marketplace as the other two. And it's funny because like last gen, the Wii had beat everything. They beat everything out. And to be honest with you, they had the most Japanese influence on that system.
I could see that. Yeah, the thing about the Like I said, yeah, with Nintendo, yeah, they've always been a big force in games in the game industry. In fact, they really resuscitated the game industry. By like the early '80s, the Atari 2600 was out, and there was like that big crash, and no one believed in video games anymore because yeah, the dark age, because the quality was so bad, and the quality control was so bad, and it was just a glut of crap out there, just to be honest.
Hey, Sal,
and Nintendo came along and they resuscitated and brought back. They really do deserve that credit because they resuscitated the home video game market and brought it back to life, breathed new life, and all this creativity. And so basically, everyone owes Nintendo. At least in the game industry, within the game industry, they owe them that, and that's what, that's one thing that people forget about Nintendo, and they deserve all their everything that they've gotten as far as their fan base and their customer support and all that. They deserve that praise, but it's this whole thing just put Microsoft and Sony together. It's like one thing about Microsoft and Sony, they're big companies, but one thing that can never be said about them is that they're not game creators in themselves.
Yeah.
They're just these big mega corporations, and they're just there to just get they just want your money, man. They can care less about your gamer passion. They care less about all that. And so that's one thing that really kind of hurts when it comes to this new generation. It's just kind of like this disconnect between the fans, the game players, and the company that provides all this the video game content.
Well, the thing is that the problem though with Nintendo and the Sega thing is, people were saying, Nintendo true did their thing. I gotta give it to them, but Nintendo had a lot of missteps too. They kind of got a little too big for their britches. Like technically, the N64 was a flop.
Yeah.
The GameCube wasn't really that much of a big deal. Now, I know people might say this, but the actual Wii itself, it sold extremely well. But the reason why it sold extremely well is because of the motion control. But as soon as people bought it, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, people were not even playing no more. And the problem with Nintendo is the way their marketing was towards that thing was going towards the casual gamer rather than so much the hardcore as the other ones. And what happens is as tablets and phones start just becoming more advanced and advanced as the years have gone on, the casual gamer, instead of gaming on, let's say, a Nintendo console, a 3DS, etc., they start gaming on their tablets and phones. And that's kind of where a lot of missteps on Nintendo's part is kind of focusing, because most people looked at Nintendo as a kiddie system or like a casual gamer system. Now, Sega's issue is the peripheral nightmares which destroyed them, because nobody had faith in Sega anymore, because, in other words, the Master System was a great system. I'll put up first one to admit that. It was an excellent system. It kicked the shit out of Nintendo. Unfortunately, it didn't have the base like it did in Brazil and in Europe, but it's still a great system. The Genesis, man, that was a beast of a system. But in all reality, after the Genesis, when they started coming out with the CD system, the CD system was okay. It was cute and all, but it didn't show anything that was so revolutionary other than 4Motion and video. Then they had the 32X and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until the Dreamcast where they came out with all this revolutionary technology, especially being the first one to connect to the internet so you can actually play, online and stuff. They just had a lot of peripheral nightmares, and that's why they bowed out, because the attitude is that if they didn't bow out, they were literally going to be, on the street, and they became more of a software developer, because they had to take a back seat, because it wasn't worth it to them to continue to produce because they just didn't have the backing, because of all the revenue loss putting into these various, peripherals, and even the Saturn, they didn't even have much faith in, because as soon as the Saturn came out, they kind of sort of ditched it and went on, so the developers didn't have any faith in it either, even though it had a lot of really good games. It's now true.
Hold on, Salvi, you breaking up.
One thing, I don't know if you guys can hear.
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, one thing I don't know about. I mean, there's a lot that whole thing, the bit with the Dreamcast. I think there's a lot of controversy about that because, the Dreamcast sold very, very well. Now, that's one thing that has to be said. That thing sold very well. I was in the retail stores at that time, and it was. I don't understand that whole thing where it just didn't get a user base. I remember that thing sold very well. $99.99. It had a lot of press, and they sold a lot of units. So I just don't understand where this thing came from. And I know it's a popular theory, but I don't understand where that thing came from that they didn't sell many units and they just went under. I don't get that part.
No,
I remember.
You know what, Jared? It really wasn't because of the system itself. It was because people like me and it was people like me who was burning the shit out of games. Like I kind of just stopped buying games for the Dreamcast and just started burning. I got my brand new CD burner in my computer with my little dial-up modem. Shit was sounding like a dinosaur. Like, hey man, I'm about to go grab me some Dreamcast games, and I just stopped buying software for it. And that's what helped kill it, because a lot of people think it was the PlayStation 2. Yeah, the PlayStation 2 had some influence on it because it had a DVD player in it. But, yeah. But other than that, it really was more of the pirating.
Which is something that where SNK was claiming that they were losing profits because people were pirating the shit because the what do you call that? The accessibility of it and the cheapness, especially of DVDs and certain chips and stuff, that people didn't have access to that stuff before. So I have to agree that piracy did destroy, and people still actually burn for the Dreamcast to this day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's one of those things that I remember when I had a friend and he had an image burner. He burned me a copy of Ikaruga for the Dreamcast. That was way back in the day. I just don't remember it being so prevalent that everyone was doing it. I didn't see that. And if that cut into their software sales, piracy did. But a lot of machines, you could pirate a lot of stuff. I mean, even up to like the Wii. I remember I had a buddy, he had a Wii, and he had every freaking game on it. I'm like, how'd you do that? So he just kind of had that kind of look on his face, like he didn't want to say nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, so I don't know. If that was really, I'm not really convinced that just that and the piracy alone was the demise of the Dreamcast. I always think about that. It's like, what really, if everyone likes it, I mean, you go on the internet and people are like, oh, I love the Dreamcast, oh, I love these games, or I love this and that, and it's just like, but, oh, they killed it. And it's like, I just want to get what was the definitive reason for that?
I'm going to say I'm going to be honest with you. I think the PlayStation 1 had a real strong following. I'm not a big fan of the PlayStation 1. To be honest, I had one. I returned that shit. I was like, I really didn't give two shits about it. But the strong influence of the PlayStation 1 and the leap forward because of the reputation of the PlayStation 1 and the reputation of that compared to the reputation of the Dreamcast, I think we're totally different. Because look at it this way. The PlayStation 1, in a lot of ways, wasn't really super, super awesome by no means. But it was the leap forward from the 16th era. And it maintained an excellent reputation and had a lot of great games on it. Like, the only game I truly really liked was Tekken 2. But the thing is that the reputation, I think, was with it. So when it moved to PS2, and the fact that they were announcing the various game developers that were salivating to do it, I think kind of cemented Sony. And then Sony eventually fell as soon as with the PS3, but that's later on. But the thing is, whereas the Dreamcast, in a lot of ways, was almost on par with the PS2, but the reputation of Sega was so soured and so even though they had a really good hardware, a lot of good backing from it, the developers, I think, more went towards the PS2 because of the reputation. Regardless how excellent the Sega system was, It was the reputation of the PS1, and then going. That's what made the PS2 kind of like sort of semi-legendary, and that it had like over 1,000 something games, whatever, and the biggest selling system in I think the world at the time. And the thing is, but I think it's the reputation that really did it, and that's where the whole Sega thing was, that people were deciding between a Dreamcast and a PS2, and it's just like you. If you're deciding something, you might say it's like a car. You might say, "Oh, this car is awesome, this and that." But wait a minute, the reputation of this car, it breaks down a lot. Even though it's a good car, but this reputation of this car seems to be pretty stable and trustworthy and reliable. You're going to go. A lot of times, people are going to go to Old Faithful and go and continue to keep on going. That's kind of where I think what happened. It comes down because Sega, to me, I'm serious. Sega was, man, they are fucking badass in a lot of ways. Arcade games, a lot of stuff. That's why the PS2 stuff that I had, a lot of it's Sega stuff. But I think it comes down to your reputation, just like your reputation in this world as a human being and all that, and it passes on, and that's how you get hookups and connections. I think it's the same. Even though people were deciding in the store as soon as PlayStation 2 came out, people were deciding Dreamcast or PS2, and they're like, well, we got to go with Old Faithful because Old Faithful was doing good, and then, of course, with PS3, Sony fucked up, and, I'll get into that later, like I said. But I think that's what it came down to.
Well,
that is an excellent.
Well, Sal, speaking of reputation, do you ever think like Nintendo can shake this whole kitty reputation that it has?
Okay, well, the whole thing, now, Nintendo's reputation, other than the Nintendo 64, or the Ultra 64, what it was supposed to be, a lot of their systems and all just never appealed to the hardcore people. And a lot of things would turn people off too, and they turned a lot of game developers off. First of all, number one, the Nintendo 64 turned a lot of people off because it was cartridge-based, as it was going into optical media. And that was another thing people didn't like, because making cartridges are expensive. That's why the whole Neo Geo things were so expensive and all. But they had a lot of kiddie games, even though there were some, pretty hardcore games. Then moving into the GameCube, it moved to optical media, but it didn't move to DVD optical. Moved into, I forget what the hell it's called. And they produced some, like, I think Resident Evil 4, I believe was one or two, which is an excellent Resident Evil.
Yeah.
They did it. But their lack of third party in a lot of ways, what they were doing, a lot of the kiddie games like Mario and all stuff, people just saw it as just a kid's machine. If you take a look at it, really, where Nintendo really thrives is their handhelds. Handhelds are where Nintendo seriously can wipe the floor. Other than maybe the PSP kind of was, kind of championing for quite a bit. That's where they excel at, because they believe that the kiddie stuff, a lot of your younger people, I mean, you got your older people too, a lot of younger ones might not go towards consoles, they go towards the handhelds. A lot of people thought that Nintendo should stop making consoles and make handhelds, because their handhelds seem to do way better because they're focused more on the casual gamer than their actual systems. But they have that kiddie image that they need to shape, and that casual gamer they have to shape, but they're not getting the games that they need or the support from the third-party developers, because once again it comes down to that reputation and all. And people hear Nintendo, they think it's cute little Mario, and then they move on. Whereas a Sony and Microsoft are considered for the adults or the hardcore gamers and all. Even though they might have a cute little game here and there, whereas Nintendo still, people are reeling back to the Super Nintendo and Nintendo, which we got as we were kids.
Yeah, and you know what?
A lot of hardcore people, like adults, didn't really, well, not that I knew of that many adults had, Super Nintendos or Nintendo. Some did here and there, but it's just your reputation of having a cutesy image. That's why Sonic was more prevalent, being more of a badass or a bad boy hedgehog thingamabobber that appealed to it, to give Sega was saying we're more hardcore than Nintendo.
Yeah, but one thing, Nintendo's audience, I can tell you this from experience, they are very hardcore. I mean,
yeah, they
my
are.
older brother, yeah, it's like my older brother raises his kids on on Nintendo. You know, he has a Wii U. You know, he's had all the Nintendo systems, and they're very loyal. You know, they won't buy a system unless there's a Zelda game or Super Mario Brothers or those type of games. I mean, they won't buy another system, and to them that is gaming. They're very brand loyal, and they that's the way that they are. So Nintendo has a very they have a fantastic base of people who actually are in another generation, and so they have a great opportunity to capitalize it if they just go out there and just grab those users and grab that market share. Because one thing about all these other systems that's cool, like the Xbox, the 360, or PS3, or even your Android phone or your little iPhone, you will never get a Pokemon game on it. You're never going to get a Mario game on those things. You're never going to get a Zelda, because they are very they covet those properties so much, because they know that they have it, but they just gotta put it out there. They just gotta make the ultimate Zelda. They gotta make the ultimate Metroid or whatever their IPs. They make those ultimate IPs. They will keep that user base, and they need to hang on to that. Don't sell out, Nintendo. Don't be like Sega. Don't sell out your stuff.
No. Nintendo, man, I read an article. They have like $11 billion in the bank right now. Like they have money. So if anyone is going to go under, it's probably Sony or Microsoft. But I think one of the reasons why I didn't like the PlayStation 3 as much is because the PS2. I mean, the hardcore gamer and stuff like that. I don't have a clear idea what is a hardcore gamer. Is a hardcore gamer a person who likes shooting people in the face all day? Because if that's the case, you can count me the fuck out. Me, because on the PlayStation 2, I really like games like Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper. Even though we only got one for PS3. I actually liked Spyro the Dragon on PlayStation 1, and I was a teenager, and I played football and dated girls and all type of stuff, and I did normal stuff like a normal guy would do. And to me, playing a Nintendo system is not kiddie. I'll play one probably until I die or until my eyes fucking give out on me. But like to me, like I own a Wii U. I just bought one, and I'm anticipating all the new games that's coming out this year for it. And I plan on getting a PlayStation 4. But I was talking to Sal about this yesterday. That really the only reason I'm getting a PlayStation 4 is for 3 games, and they're all Japanese influenced games. But if they were on the Wii U, I'll have serious. I'll have to really think about if I would buy a PlayStation 4. And the 3 games are Metal Gear Solid 5, Kingdom Hearts, and Final Fantasy 15. If I can get those on the Wii U, there'll be no reason for me to buy the other system, because I get tired of seeing a soldier with a fucking gun. I get tired of seeing the copy and paste angry white guy with a gun getting dirty, falling down, getting hurt, jumping, fighting zombies. I get tired of that shit. I'm so drained of that I want. I mean, I just want something that I'm comfortable with, that I know is gonna be quality, because there's no other games in the entire gaming universe that are more quality games than Nintendo. That's why people constantly are going back and buying these old retro games from Nintendo. Earthbound, it goes for like over $500 for like a complete version of it. It's because these games are quality. They'll last forever. And you'll see like a Uncharted 3 or a Gears of War 3 months down the line. That shit is like $29.
Yep.
And just the quality. That's why I stick with Nintendo. Now, believe me, I'm a fan of every system and every company. Every company has their flaws, but right now I'm just not really into the other two. Like I just don't like first person shooters that much, and I am good at them, but it's not my cup of tea right now. It's not what I'm in the mood for.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's funny about like first person shooters. I remember my first person shooter to really jump off was the first one I remember was Wolfenstein. That appeared on the PC.
Game.
That appeared on the Mac. I don't know if you guys hear it, but and then they made Doom, and Doom was huge. that was a big that
Mm-hmm.
that was the godfather of all first person shooters. It was a big deal, and everyone just kind of just went with that. Basically every game, every first person shooter is just basically a derivative of Wolfenstein and Doom, except now they just got fantastic graphics. Basically.
Right. It's the thing is like you said, like Doom. But if you look at them as first-person shooters and all, they were creative. Like, okay, one featured, monstrous aliens. The other one was like Nazi area, Germany. But the thing is that there was a lot of creativity. And I think, like going back to what Jose was saying, is the hardcore is. I think because the PS2, I don't consider it a hard. I agree. A hardcore. I don't know what the hell a hardcore.
I don't know what that means.
Me,
Exactly.
the only thing I can see a hardcore gamer is a motherfucker sitting in his basement fucking 8-10 hours a day, playing video games. A motherfucker got Cheetos all fucking
He got that stringy fucking hair coming down. He just looks like a fucking monster.
Yeah, I mean, like that. But to me, I think what people saw the PS2 as because of the wide variety of games that were on it. Because you have to admit, though, if you want a first-person shooters, the PS2 had them. You want a fighting games, the PS2 had RPGs, action, whatever the hell, whatever your genre of choice is, the PS2 could accommodate you, I think, pretty well. But I agree with you as far as the hardcore. But I think Nintendo, I agree, Nintendo, they just, the branding and everything that they just have is just being so cutesy. And I agree with you that that's not what Nintendo is about. True, Nintendo did have censorship back in the day on the Super Nintendo, and it hurt them a lot. And they realized, well, this is not smart. Let's stop this bullshit. And they changed it. That's why MK2 had blood to it and all. But I think things like that and the games that they were coming out at the time, I figures what it comes down to just reputation, that people just don't want to glance at a Wii or any of the Nintendo systems because they see it from their past childhood. They were about cutesy games and things like that, such as the Mario, Donkey Kong Country. Even though they're superb fucking games, I mean they're just excellent games. Whereas is that these nowadays, like you said, there's realism of shooting people in the face and, not being a cartoon anymore, being real life. And I guess people, like those particular games because they would like to shoot people in real life, but they couldn't. There's just a lot of different things and people's minds have changed. And I guess because your imagination, I guess, goes away when you're a kid and when you grow older, you're more focused on the real world. So I guess that's why the realism is kind of is so prevalent, and especially with these shooting games and things like that, because you have real world problems, you have real world things. You don't want to be kiddie anymore. You want to do something that's kind of sort of real worldish, but you couldn't do it in the real world type of thing. So I think I think that's where a lot of things have changed because. As gamers now, we got lives, we have jobs, families, whatever it may be. Whereas back then, the only thing you had to worry about is bring your dumb ass to school. And the thing is that so your imagination, your different things, kind of go run wild, things of that nature. I think nowadays it's more of the kind of like what you were saying, the angry whitey of doing these things because a lot of the gamers, I'm just going to probably a false statistic, are white people. And a lot of, as far as that, it's it's an extension of themselves in a lot of ways. And I think that's where a lot of things come and play, like a Grand Theft Auto game or something like that, where it's kind of cool, it's got a lot of magic, but a lot of people would like to do half the shit that's in there rather than be just, a funny, quirky, pretty cool game. These war simulators, a lot of people would like to do that. I think it's a different take based upon real world experience and a lot of changes in people's lives. I think are different than your teenager compared to an adult. So I think that's where the image of Nintendo is so cutesy and kiddie, whereas the other ones are more hardcore. I'm guessing that because to me, hardcore is somebody who's just literally just playing games completely all day, which for us, we can't play games all day. We have responsibilities, and it's just. I think that's kind of where it falls and where my thinking goes from.
I got to chime in about something when you guys were talking about hardcore gamers. I don't know. What to me, what a hardcore gamer is, if you can beat a game like, Super Mario Brothers 1 in the arcade, that's hardcore. Those little cutesy games that you remember from their past, if you try to play them now, will kick your ass, man. Those games are hard, man. They require a lot of skill, tons of skill, and it's not so much just about you can beat a game. I mean, those games have you in tears. I remember there was I used to watch this show on the internet on YouTube called Game Center CX. And basically, what it is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that show or not. Are you guys familiar with it?
It's the one when the guy plays the old games, right?
Yeah. He's a Japanese dude, and he's basically that's what his job is to do is try to beat these old 8-bit Nintendo games. And one of the funnier ones, I believe, was he was playing Mega Man 2, and his job was to finish it. Basically the staff and the crew can't go home until he finishes his game. So these guys are tired. They're like wanting to go home and all this, and it's just a chore. It's like, and I think he finally beat it. I'm pretty sure it was Mega Man 2, I believe. It could have been one of the other ones, but I mean, he was damn near in tears after he beat that game. So those games are not. I mean, they're not. Those games are hardcore, man. If you're really serious about them, I mean, it's not just a bunch of like this macho image about him. It's like, yeah, if you can beat some of those old school games, dude, you are hardcore.
I agree with you because I was actually just talking to Jose actually about this. We were talking about the games of today or the hand-holding of how they handhold you through the game. Like I think there was actually an article that was published, or not even published, that Nintendo was claiming. People were claiming that games are way too easy nowadays. And Nintendo responded saying that supposedly they did like a test survey of the original the original Mario Brothers game. The Nintendo Classic and shit. Where we beat that shit when we were kids. I mean, it took us a while, but we beat it. They say they put gamers in front of that thing. They couldn't even get past 90% of them couldn't even get past the first level. They said the thing is that they said based upon and they said some of them died at the first Goomba. They didn't even know what it was. and the attitude of them was Nintendo's like, man, these are a bunch of sorry motherfuckers, because the attitude is that's why they have to tone down their games and things like that, because games that we were playing, like games that took me fucking forever, like Castlevania, Mega Man 2, Ninja Gaiden, all these games that were classics. I mean, it took you weeks, sometimes months. It could have taken you a motherfucking year to beat them shits, because depending upon time, school, etc. But they were claiming that's why the games are, because people just don't know what they're doing. A lot of them just don't know how to play games anymore, especially your young generation. They don't know what they're doing. They put a controller in, they don't understand it. They have to handle it. Like, say, when you get shot in these like war games and all, if you notice when you get shot, it turns red, but eventually it starts clearing up, and then you're back to full health again. It wasn't like that. If you got shot in a game, you died. Contra. You got shot once, you were done. I mean, you get hit in the thing, Ninja Gaiden, you made jumps or something, or you were done, and they put you at the back of the stage, and if you had a code, you were lucky to continue where you left off. But they know gamers don't have that ability. Like, kind of gamers, in a lot of ways, have degenerated through the generations, whereas the eye-hand coordination, the skill that, like a lot of the adult gamers grew up with, kids they're just like dumbfounded. They don't know what it is, because they didn't have these games that actually took time, thought, skill to accomplish. They just don't have it.
Yep, that's funny, because I remember during Christmas time, I put my little nephew. He was about that time. I think he was about like 8 or 9, and I let him have my Neo Geo X. And I let him start playing it, mess around with it. He was getting killed, man. He just didn't understand that. He was like crying dang near. He's like, I don't understand. I'm getting beat. I hate these games, because he didn't get it. He didn't have it's like I say, hey man, if you want to beat that guy, you gotta find out his pattern. You gotta keep playing. You gotta have that tenacity. Right. And that's why when Jose was talking about his son, putting him in front of Samurai Showdown 4 and like showing him what's up. You just gotta keep on playing. You gotta learn your character. You gotta get good. And that's one thing that's kind of missing from this generation. They just don't. they don't have that. You gotta have that tenacity to want to. You know what? I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna master my character. I'm gonna master my special moves. I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna dig into it. And if they did, then they would see the pleasure of of these games.
Yeah.
And a lot of that I think covers over to real life too, because let's say that that competition, that tenacity, that persistence actually comes over in real life. Because if you want something, you have to have persistence, tenacity, and things to overcome that. So in a lot of ways, and it's, I guess maybe in an indirect way, it has an impact in your life. Whereas nowadays, things are hand-holding and more depending upon other sources to help them rather than figuring it out for themselves, which life is more of figuring shit out for yourself. So I think there's an indirect connection to that, too, as far as the generation have come across from when we were gaming, and especially towards our focuses on life in general.
No. In just my opinion, I feel like those first-person shooters, like Call of Duty and Battlefield and stuff like that. I feel like those are casual, like casual gamers, people who just only play those because, and then people give that type of shit to Nintendo, where old Nintendo games, like you guys played Ninja Gaiden 1, man, that game is hard as shit. Just that game, and and even now, like a lot of people will kind of gawk at the Wii and stuff like that, but the Wii has some really hard games on there. Like if you guys have ever played Donkey Kong Country Returns, it's like one of the hardest fucking games to like ever come out. The game is so difficult, and I guarantee you, if I sat someone down who only played those games, only played those first person shooters with Donkey Kong Country Returns, they'll fucking rip their hair out.
Yeah, those platformers, yeah, you gotta have
fucking
skills,
insane.
man.
Yeah, they're insane. And you both of you guys are right. On the points that you're making, regarding to games have gotten easier, and it's kind of like dumbing down our youth.
Yep.
You're right. You are right. Now, I think we covered this enough. Basically, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. Do you guys have any closing comments on the gaming industry now? Everybody knows it's a fucking train wreck. I mean, just being honest. I mean, it's just a train wreck. Just as old gamers, we're just looking at it like, when is this shit gonna hit the fucking school bus full of children? Because it is. It's coming.
My final thought, in a lot of ways, is that when we were going from 8 to 16 to 32, all that other type of stuff, and then on, you could see real leaps and changes in games. You could really value the way the gaming was going, especially progressing through the 90s. The 90s progressed really fast as far as gaming was going. But I think we're at a point where we went too fast. And I think the next generation of games, that's why they're focusing on them being media boxes, is because, like I said, we've hit a plateau. We've gone way too fast, and within a real short amount of time, we've gone too fast. And let's say within the last 20-something years, and 20-something years is not really a lot if you think about it. And it's just, I think if creativity needs to be there or gaming needs to be there, the only way things will actually change is if there is a crash. Now, I would hate to see certain things, but to me, a crash, just like Nintendo came out of a crash and delivered the goods, it's kind of the same thing. You need that, because after a while, just having two companies and supposedly pushing off Nintendo and stuff like that, what's going to happen is that everything is going to be bland and blah. And that's what it's doing right now, is that gaming has become so stagnant that it needs that crash in order to regenerate the innovative, the thinking, for in order gaming to, because gaming will always be there, but it's just as far as consoles and stuff like that, I believe wholeheartedly this will be the last consoles, and everything will just go to tablets and phones because of how advanced the phones and tablets have come throughout the years. Think about it from the year 2000 to now, the fact that we have phones that do internet and can game and do all sorts of wild shit on it, we've come really far. And I think the next gen is probably going to be the last, and people are just going to be, you know what, forget this, we're just going to game on these tablets. And it's a sad, see this because I believe wholeheartedly, 100% that's going to happen. And unfortunately, you know, we'll be playing these old ass games and things of that nature. But the one thing's for sure, we're going to still keep on enjoying these old ass games while the whole entire market tries to get itself together and people are sitting there bitching. You know, we're going to still enjoy what we're enjoying. And I think because what we're playing are timeless classics and can never be reproduced.
Yeah, I gotta say, all you guys out there, you got those PCBs, you got those boards, those original hardware, man, keep them in good working order, keep the retro alive, because you know what, that's the stuff that's gold, that's the stuff that's really worth playing, keep all that stuff, and just keep it retro.
Yeah, okay. Well, the next subject, we won't dwell on this too long, but this is something that's been annoying me and annoying Sal, and I know annoying Jared. Is the whole YouTube community thing. How do you guys feel about the state of the YouTube right now? And we'll start this off with Sal.
Start off the angry white guy. Huh?
I mean, keep it real. This is lunchtime talk. Keep it real.
Well,
how you feel, man?
The thing is that with the whole YouTube community, when I first started doing videos on YouTube, actually, I'd say last year and all. I mean, at first I was kind of like naive. I didn't know what the deal was and all. Well, the whole thing with the community is, to me, it's not really a community in a sense. It's more just a bunch of cliques. And the thing is you have a lot of people out there that are trying to be the next angry video game nerd or trying to be the next, Ray William Johnson. And a lot of these YouTubers that initially came on here with Passional because of the access to Google allowing allowing ads to be on video when you're in videos. Whereas back in the day, you had to be a pretty substantially high YouTuber in order to get that. But I think money and a lot of the popularity that associated with it, I think it's changed the community. And I start seeing a lot of change in the people. While there's some outstanding YouTubers such as, this present company right here, a lot of it's just turned, I just look at YouTube as a whole big high school. And just like in high school, you didn't hang out with everybody, you just hung out with your clique. And that's what's kind of turning into, you're just hanging out with your clique. You might find a good group of people you hang out, but a lot of these people who say the community, alive, I think is 100% bullshit. I know people want to throw flack at me, but I don't give a shit. I really don't. I just think a lot of it's false, and I think it's just people who are interested in just becoming popular or trying to get more views or just trying to basically, trying to get pseudo-celebrityism out of YouTube. But on a whole, I believe I've had a lot of positive experiences also with the community. Like I said, I found, Jared by go looking at his stuff and promoting him because that's where I was at. I started out with, good YouTubers such as MC Pentlin, Ted6275, a couple others who were promoting my channel, and these reviews that I have on my channel were promoted by, one guy called Darren Walshaw. I mean, so there are people out there who will help you genuinely are decent guys, just like how I like, promoting you guys and stuff. You have that in the community, but it just comes to realize that there's a lot of phony bullshit in the community, and people are just interested in only hanging with popular or more sub people because that's what they want part of, rather than really trying to help and promote channels to just really just themselves. And their subscribers are kind of like your dick. They got to see how much it climbs up, or their views how much it climbs up. So you see a lot of change in people, but I still believe there are some really good people in the community. So I can't really dog it, a lot of it. And like I said, I'll continue as long as I can, and I hope to continue to find really good people on
here. Yeah. I mean, but there are assholes, though. Right.
Oh, absolutely. There are. I've had people come on my channel and try to think they're, wise, or they're trying to be, like they're bullying, and I come right back at them because, like I said, a lot of stuff I might say might be unpopular, but like I said, I'm not running for class president and shit. I'm not looking to be popular. I mean, this is not where I'm handing out, Rice Krispie treats and shit. This is, a channel. I run it the way I want to run it, and I'm thankful for my semi-pseudo success that I have, and my subscribers and all that. And I think I have a lot of good people, and there's people that are just behind the scenes that I never see or comment and all who are supporting my channel. But there are a lot of assholes out there because the problem with YouTube, just like the internet, is the anonymity of it, and because of the anonymity of it, motherfuckers wouldn't say anything, say half the shit they would in real life because they get knocked the fuck out. But because of the anonymity of YouTube, and
Yeah.
the thing is that that's why there's a lot of issues, and I think a lot of people come on here and show their collections and stuff, and rather than saying they're proud of their collections, I think they're just using it as a way of either being like a bragger or I have more than you type of thing, and that's kind of like, that's not what it's about. It's about just showing you stuff and just being proud of it and sharing with other people, and helping people, and sometimes even hooking up people and stuff. Like, I've given tons of shout outs to people. A lot of my game stuff that I've done like shout outs for people, or if let's say Jared did something or you wanted something, I do it because even though it's my channel, the point is to support positivity, because I think a lot of that's starting to lack on YouTube. I think, and a lot of people need to start bringing up a lot of these smaller channels and helping them out, because that's what I'm about. I was a very small channel. I still am. But the thing is, I have a lot of people helping me out. And, and I'm thankful for that. But you do have to watch the assholes out there. And you know what? You can't let them bother you either. You just got to keep on trucking, because you're not here to please everybody. You're just here to do what you want to do. And if you enjoy it, that's what it's about.
All right, cool. Jared, you got anything to say on the subject?
Wow, that was great hearing you. And yeah, that's one thing about Sal that I really connected with him. He's a big Neo Geo guy, and then you know how you like feel like you're just out there on your own, like wow, and then I made like a video about the Neo Geo X, and then he made a comment, and it was like really encouraging, and it's like wow, there's not this guy's cool, we understand, we can vibe, it's cool. But one of the things I just wanted to say about the whole thing is that I received a lot of positive support because of Jose Lito, and because of Sal, because I know that these guys, at the end of the day, we're all just gamers. We just all have this gamer's passion. We care about the things we talk about. And so, like, when it comes to everyone else's channels, all you guys' channels out there, the way I feel about it is like, I'm coming into your house, you're making a video, and you're inviting me into your house to show me what you got, what you like, and all this kind of things. And there's no way I would ever come to anyone's house and disrespect them or diss them. That is just completely, for me, that's a very alien thing. I would never do that to anyone. I would never disrespect someone or leave some nasty comments about someone who's took the time to put some content. I mean, if there's something out there that I don't like or don't agree with, I'll probably just pass it up. But I'm not going to diss anyone out there, who might like a certain system or like a certain game or has a certain collection. To me, that's ridiculous. I would never act in a way that I wouldn't act in real life, because some of these guys on here, some of these larger channels, or some guys who've been making videos, they've been making videos for a long time, and they've really showed and I'm just surprised at how much they've shared. It's just like, wow, this guy doesn't have to do this, but he's sharing this experience, or he's sharing his passion. And it's like, why would anyone diss someone like that who's taking the time to show you something? Because it really is something special. That's what makes me want to contribute. I just don't want to just sit back. I want to contribute too, because I've seen a lot of channels out there that I love and I adore, and it's just like, wow, someone's doing something positive, and that's just all I want to do. That's all I want to do, and that's what I found here. And make a few friends and kind of just have a good conversation, just have a good time. That's the whole thing, just being positive, just have a good time.
I think a lot of times with YouTube, why there's a lot of issues with it, I think still comes down to I would just say a jealousy, because like a lot of times people see you have something they don't have or they can't afford. It's not about that. Like there are people out there that have like the arcade and stuff like that. Like I was saying, that Ken6275, he's a fantastic individual. If people are listening, Josh Scott, fantastic. He helped me. He built up my MBS and all that type of stuff. And all. But this kid, when I saw he had an arcade machine in his bedroom, and the one guy, MC Templin, who has an arcade machine. When I seen this type of stuff, yeah, I was jealous, but a happy jealous. Like, in other words, it's like, wow, I wish I could get that shit, Maya. I wish I could get that. That's what things should be about, like, you know, promoting rather than seething hatred towards the person for having what that shit. Because let's say, you get a certain game, I'm like, oh, I would love to have that. I'll sit there and I will type up, I am a jealous motherfucker, etc., etc., and, smiley fucking face, whatever. But the point is I'm happy because I like seeing people get these things, and I hope someday I get it. The problem is people can't separate a lot of ways of that. And it's just a lot of immaturity destroys a lot of things and all, and it's a shame because you know what, YouTube is a good thing for now. It's considered a free service until eventually somehow it will turn into whatever. But it's a good thing for get to meet people, and I still like to every day look for different people and comment on their stuff and try and find more people and bring them into the thing, especially Neo Geo people, because that's kind of what I do, even though I have other stuff. Is because my thing is, it's hard for a Neo Geo person to kind of get recognized or kind of get into things. It's very hard, and you just got to keep pushing them and kind of like. There's one guy on here, Old School 81. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he was just basically an observer and a comment until I harassed the shit out of him, kind of like put video ups and kind of thanked him. But I like seeing people be positive because we live in this world of so much bullshit. At least we can come here and at least avoid a lot of that. But then you have some dickheads who want to, add to that. But you got to just keep on trucking, make your YouTube video. My first video I look at, it's shit. But I keep it up there because it's a reminder of where I began and where I'm at now.
Word.
Okay. Now, I just want to say, since us three have been making these videos, there's been, a lot of good and positive responses, and there's been a couple negative, not really people putting their name next to a negative comment. They'll just dislike it. Well, to those people, fuck you. Just saying, fuck you. Because I don't go to nobody's spot. I don't go. No, that's how I feel. I don't go to nobody's channel and dislike anything. Dislike anything.
Yeah.
Just like Jared said, I'll pass it up if I don't like it. But I wouldn't criticize what you do so badly like that. I might have an opinion, but that's my opinion. So for the coward that's disliking the video, keep on doing it, man. It's cool. Just know that you have no fucking life at all.
You know what? The way I look at it is Jose. I think I look at something positive. You know why I look at it positive? Because you know what? Sometimes people are jealous of the way we interact with each other because they can't do that.
You're right, because
some form of ineptness with them that they would like to do it, but they just lack that skill or they lack the ability to have, to converse or be able to have a conversation. And a lot of people feel left out because they can't talk about these things. So it's a lot of times some people being inept because they're angry at the happiness of people are sharing in their experiences. So you know what? I agree with you, fuck you, but you know what? Shit like haters make me motherfucking smile.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll wear a motherfucking grin for them because you know what? I live for fucking haters because that means I'm doing something fucking right.
And you're right. And mind you, this has been our message since day one. If anyone on YouTube that's starting off, or even a person that's been here for years, if you guys, really, this is an open forum for people who just love gaming. That's why, I started the whole podcast thing, and that's why, you know, I asked Sal and I asked Jared to get on this with me, to do this with me. Just, because we are friends outside of YouTube. And, we want to talk about something that, that's passionate to us. And I know other people might feel the same way what we're talking about, but they might not do videos, but they feel the same way that we're feeling. So once again, anyone's invited. You have no videos, no subs. I don't give a fuck. Once again, this is not for subs. This is just for people to get to know each other in a more personal way, besides just the regular videos that are made. Pickup videos, because I don't really do too many pickup videos. Not that I don't buy stuff. It's not really my thing. I'll do one every once in a while, but this is more kind of my passion. These podcasts. I'm really big into these right now, and I really enjoy doing them.